Do you ever wonder why some people just radiate health and vitality? They have this glow and they just seem like everything's effortless. There is a secret and it's ancient, and I hope I say it right. It's Ayurveda. My guest today is Cristina Dos Santos, and she is an expert in this timeless wisdom and desires to be at the forefront of this collective healing journey, especially because everyone's going on this healing journey now. And her approach, rooted in the relationship between food, sleep, and hormones, she is all about having you unlock the doorway to a more vibrant and magnetic self. So, welcome, Christina.
Thank you so much, Stefi. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you. And can you please say the right pronunciation? I'm probably going to say it wrong, but can you say the right pronunciation for it?
Yes, it's Ayurveda. So I like our eyes, the organs or eyes that we see out of.
Mhm.
Your Veda, the D is kind of the dental teeth. Ayurveda is the way that we typically say it in the US. Ayurveda.
Okay.
Mm,
I love it. The thing about Ayurveda, and I'm
no, that's
gonna
great.
I'm gonna work towards it, is I feel like the time that people mostly learn about it is in yoga teacher training. The
Mhm.
first when you do your 200 hour. I'm not sure if that's where you learned it, but that's where I learned about it.
Nice. Yeah, I actually was introduced to Ayurveda way before I studied yoga. One of my godfathers wife who was introduced to the family when I was like 15 was an Ayurvedic doctor. And she
Mm.
started looking at my tongue and taking my pulse, and it felt like poking and prodding me and telling me all these things about myself and giving me all these books to read. And she was adamant about pushing me toward the Ayurvedic path. By the time I went to yoga teacher training, I already knew that I wanted to be an Ayurvedic practitioner. I just didn't really know the best way to go about that. And I thought
Mm.
I would be teaching yoga as a way to get into that realm and develop a client base for when I finally did study Ayurveda and become a practitioner.
Yeah. So you actually segued into the perfect thing. Like, how did you get started? How did it pull you in? It seemed like it seeked you versus you seeking it.
Yeah, it really found me. And at first, I didn't love that. I was like, what is this? What is this lady telling me? But when I moved away to college, I kept having UTIs.
Mhm.
And as it turns out, energetically, they're related to fear and anxiety. But I didn't know that at the time. And I kept having UTIs and going to the clinic and taking antibiotics. And one day I was like, wait a second, I'm going to call my godfather's wife, who's an Ayurvedic doctor, and ask her what I can do at home because I don't want to keep taking antibiotics. They're making me feel bad. And it's just a constant cycle. I can tell I'm not healing at the root. And so I called her and she just walked me through three simple things I already had in my kitchen and how to use them, which were parsley, like fresh parsley, the herb,
Mhm.
turmeric, and coconut oil, and some kind of concoction and different ways of taking those three things. She helped me heal that infection and it never came back. I've never since had a UTI or anything related to kidneys or urinary health. So
Mm.
when that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, Ayurveda is the way 100%. And I became like this super Ayurveda enthusiast. And I would message my friends on Facebook because the fourth days of Instagram. And I'd be like, listen, this is amazing. I know you posted that you're having an issue that you've gone to the hospital for, but Ayurveda can help. I would like spreading the gospel of Ayurveda from that
Oh my
point.
gosh. So you essentially were a pioneer in this because a lot of people, this is still a new concept, even though it's like super ancient.
Yeah, it's definitely very ancient, but at the time, this was like 2011, 2010. There were not as many books as there are available now, and
Mhm.
the majority of the books that I was reading anyway were really hard to read and digest. They were by David Frawley, who's considered the father of Ayurveda in the West, and they just had a lot of really heady information, and I would read these books and I would understand these like philosophical concepts, understand them, but I had no idea how to translate that into what it means to be well.
Which is interesting that I love that you call your business Truly Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you talk about could you talk about why that name?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really wanted it to be a name that was not in Sanskrit or overly woo because I have more of a clinical and kind of corporate image. And
Mhm.
that's my typical clientele or people who are coming from the corporate world. So I wanted it to seem accessible for my ideal client and also to be truly well just seemed like what I want. It's how I want people to feel. It's how I want to be. That's my goal. It's my goal for my client. And I think it evokes an image for people when they think of being truly well, feeling their best in their body, mind, body, and spirit.
Mhm. So I want to rewind a little bit for like
Mhm.
those that are new to this concept. How would you explain Ayurveda and its significance in today's fast-paced lifestyle, particularly for women that are struggling with hormone imbalances?
Yeah, so I would describe Ayurveda as a holistic system of medicine. In and of itself, it is able to address a whole everything you can think of under the sun in terms of ailment. In India, it's practiced as a standalone system of medicine, and Ayurvedic doctors in India are able to perform minor surgeries and do things that we aren't able to do in the US. For women here in the West who are dealing with hormonal imbalances,
Which
Ayurveda.
honestly, I feel like is like every woman that I
Mhm.
know.
I know, me too. It's
Sadly.
all of us, but
Mm,
it makes sense. Women are cyclical in a different way than men are cyclical. Men run on a 24-hour cycle, women run on a 30-day cycle.
mhm,
And so when we're out of sync with our rhythms and we're living in a world that doesn't honor them, of course, there's going to be a recipe for imbalance. And I think a lot of us do okay until we're in our late 20s or in our 30s. And then things start to shift and we notice, wait a second, something's up. I don't
mm.
feel as good as I know I should feel. I'm not thriving,
Yeah.
right?
What is it those because like you have these pillars that you really emphasize on, and it's like food and sleep and it's relationships. What
Mhm.
are how are those interconnected with your hormonal health?
Absolutely. So the three pillars of life or of health in Ayurveda are food, sleep, and relationships, also called brahmacharya, which is our oneness with the divine or our spiritual law. And it's also sometimes referred to as like our management of our sexual energy, which of course is
Mhm.
going to tie into hormones. But when we think about food, we think about digestion. Sleep is also our relationship to rest and non deep sleep rest. So meditation, doing things that fill our cup again. And then relationships I already spoke of, but those three pillars absolutely are governed by our hormone. We have hormones that make us hungry and make us full. We have hormones that tell us when it's time to sleep. We have hormones that regulate our cycles and all of that. And they're governed by our hormones, but they also directly impact and influence our hormones. So it's the cycle. And when we can address those three pillars, food, meaning digestion, sleep, and other ways of rest, and also our relationships, we're able to set our hormones up for success, for optimal balance.
Okay. And when you say relationships, meaning just like friendships, partnerships, like everything.
Everything, relationship with self, relationship with God, or your idea of some higher power, right?
Mhm.
Higher self, etc. Relationship with your romantic partner, relationship with your family, with your community, with your friends, relationship to your work.
Okay. And what I love about this is when you have those, I guess, those 3 pillars connected, that's when you feel, like, optimal. That's when you feel like your most radiant self. How or why is it important to have all those 3, and how does that hormonal balance through Ayurveda enhance your inner magnetism or your personal allure?
Oh, I love this question. So, having the three pillars balanced, which if you start with one, the other two will ultimately become more balanced because they're all interwoven and connected. It makes you feel so much more magnetic because you just have such a stronger sense of self and of feeling like you are thriving the way that you individually and uniquely were designed to thrive. And having that feeling, almost being tethered to that, gives people just such a beautiful aura and makes them inherently magnetic.
Mm.
Did that answer
Like,
your
I
question?
yeah, like, I swear if I just get, a good I need 9 hours of sleep, really. If I get 9
Yes,
hours of sleep,
women do. We need more like 9 to 10 hours. The 8-hour model is for men.
because Christina and I were talking, so Christina and I are friends in real life, and we were yeah, and we were texting, and we were like, "We didn't get any sleep last night because the freaking full moon."
Oh
We
my
could I wanna
gosh.
ask you that about in that in a moment, but if I just get my sleep, I feel like everything else is a domino.
It's so true. And when you don't get sleep, it's a domino, right? Like it's
Yeah.
easy to like when we're rested, everything is fine. It's hard to remember. If I've had a good night's sleep and then I go to my practitioner or my doctor and they're like, "What brings you in today?" I'm like, "Honestly, I don't know. I feel fine." When 2 days ago, if I didn't have good sleep, I had the whole list of symptoms. And that happens with my
Mm,
clients when they come to see me too. They're like, "I don't know. I had a really good sleep." But when
mhm.
we don't have a good sleep, oh my goodness, it is such a domino effect. You get more hungry, more cranky. Speaking of relationships, you probably don't feel that good in your body or with your own self, much less with the people that you live with or that you work with.
Yeah,
You
when I don't
know?
get good sleep, I make really poor decisions.
Oh my gosh, talk about impulsive, right? It's so
Mhm,
easy to just, yeah, go off the cuff. And then we're not in our magnetic energy
mhm,
either because we're not
mhm.
making the decisions from our higher self and from the place of stepping into who we really desire to be, right? That fullest embodiment.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I had such a good question, and it
Mhm.
just flew away for a minute because we were everything you were saying was so good. But, okay, this is the question. So whenever the reason I have this this magnetic online leader podcast, this YouTube, is because to become a magnetic leader takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of action. And what I notice is when people are really successful, I'm talking like top 5% sort of thing,
Mhm.
they tend to put their health number one. And I noticed that too, like, I even see, for example, like, Jeff Bezos, right?
Mhm.
He if you love him, you hate him, but he didn't look extremely, like, fit and healthy, and now he's so fit, so toned, and it seems like he, like, puts his health first. What is the correlation, if there is a correlation, with success and health, and why do successful people prioritize this as number 1?
Oh, that is such a good question. I honestly think it has to do with how much we value ourselves, that concept of self worth. When we don't feel very worthy of success, we typically also don't feel very worthy of having our best health and reaching that level of success or any level. It doesn't have to be Jeff Bezos level, right? It could just be earning more than we did the previous year, for example. But when we believe that we're worthy of achieving a certain level of success, it says a lot about how much we value ourselves. And I don't mean that in a way that is to say that we should be narcissistic or self absorbed, but having higher standards for ourselves automatically puts us in a different category. And that trickled down into every area of our lives. From the outside, we might see that person is prioritizing her health. Like you, Steffi, you go to the gym like every day. Like I
Mhm,
always see you doing something for your health. And that is so awesome and inspiring. But that's not the root of it. There's something deeper that made you decide that you are someone who takes the best care of yourself. And someone
mhm.
who's the CEO of a successful company takes the best care of himself, right?
I honestly did not expect that answer. That answer, like, blew my socks off. I expected it to be like, "Oh, because they wanna be top performers, this and this, they wanna look good." I did not. I, like, literally got chills. I got a little emotional when you
Mhm.
said that
I
because
think
it's
it's a
so true.
decision that's deeper than wanting to be a top performer. I think they already decided, I am that. And that creates boundaries around everything else.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that blew me away. And it blew me in a way, and it's such because it felt so true, and I've never seen it that way, that, like, people that are really taking care of ourselves, we're not talking about people that are taking steroids or doing things. We're talking about people that are showing up, going to the gym, drinking their juice, eating their food, really nurturing themselves, taking like
Mhm.
a more meditative stuff. It's they're doing it from a place of like deep self-love and deep
Yeah.
self-importance, right?
Yeah.
And
And
why is this important?
I do want to point out really quick too that it doesn't have to be that you're pushing yourself physically if you're not in a season of that being the thing that is most healthy for you. Was recently in a season of rebalancing my hormones and working on my adrenal health, and I actually had to take a step back from exercise.
Mhm.
But I did it from that place of deciding somewhere deeper down that I'm worth what it takes to be my best and to be my healthiest. And I got incredible results. And I didn't ever feel like, oh no, I'm not fit anymore. Do you know
Mm,
what? So it doesn't always have to be that it's going to the gym, but I think that it has to be that you are doing what you need to do for yourself.
mhm. Yeah. Because
That might mean sleeping more.
yeah, it might be eating more. Like I right now
Oh,
am
yeah.
in an eating more journey where
Yeah.
I've been tracking my calories lately, just not from a place of I wanna stay restricted, but I actually noticed I was eating a lot less than I should be,
Mhm.
and I wasn't giving myself the nutrients, and I wasn't giving myself the love and the things that I desired, and actually, to take us on a whole different path, but I remember I wouldn't buy myself sweaters, and you and I are both from you're from Florida, I'm from
Mhm.
California, so we don't really need sweaters, but I remember I'd be like, "Oh, I'm cold. That's okay. I'm not gonna put a sweater on." But then I started to notice like, "No, I deserve a sweater. I get to have a sweater." And the same thing with the food, like I get to have nourishing food. I get to have grass-fed beef. I get to have these things that are nurturing to me because I care and love me.
Oh my gosh. I love that you used the example of a sweater. For me, it's not sweaters, it's socks. But I did the same exact thing. I would just let my feet freeze and not sleep all night because my feet were cold. And then finally one day I was like, why am I making myself suffer? I'm
Why
cold
do we
alone
do
for
that? Why
Sunday.
do we do
Why? I don't know why we do it. I have no idea. Is it laziness? Is it some weird feeling that we don't deserve it? I don't know. But with my clients, so I mostly work with women who have hormonal imbalances and have symptoms and even diagnoses like PCOS or uh,
Mhm.
the number one thing I have them do like across the board is increase what they're eating a lot. We just tend to undereat as women. I don't even get hungry till lunch and then we just have a salad and it's okay. I just power through with coffee and a little granola bar or something and then
Oh
have
my
dinner
god.
and then wonder why sometimes we binge or we can't lose weight, or as soon as we start a new exercise program, we feel like crap. But yeah, we really have to eat. And sometimes that's going to mean eating more than our male partners.
Yeah. What I love about you is that you love cooking hot meals. And when I didn't know this, like I met you in 2021 and I was just moved here and from San Diego and I was still trying to figure things out. And I remember that I would go into your kitchen, you're like, I'm gonna cook a hot meal because a salad is just not gonna do it. And you said that and it struck a chord in me because I come from California, the land of salads and avocado toast. And
Mm,
your hot meal shift really helped me with my digestion and just feeling like nourishment. Like, why hot meals? And yeah, why hot meals?
I also grew up as a salad girly. That was just like not even a question. If you're a woman who is slim or wants to stay slim, you just eat salads for lunch and dinner, and that is it. Ayurveda teaches us this concept that raw food is harder to digest. It's
Mhm.
cold, it takes more digestive power to essentially cook the raw food to make it digestible. And for people who have variable digestion in Ayurveda, we know that they have vata type digestion, which means they tend toward more gas and bloating and essentially wind in their digestive tract. For them, and for a lot of people, we don't really always have the ability to turn that cold salad into an easily digested meal that makes us feel great. However,
Mhm.
when we take the simple step of cooking the vegetables and then eating them, it could be basically the same things you would have in a salad. Instead of raw kale, you saute it with some garlic and spices. and then throw in some bell peppers and tomatoes and whatever other veggies you're going to put in there and your protein, hopefully.
Mhm.
And you eat that and it just feels better. You feel more grounded when you eat it.
Mhm.
After you eat it is a big thing to notice. And that's what I would have everyone do is just to start noticing how you feel if you eat a cold smoothie or a salad. And it doesn't mean you never eat those things. I enjoy smoothies and salads, especially when it's warm outside in Texas. But notice how you feel when you eat that versus if you make a warm bowl, like a grain bowl that has some roasted veggies in it and things that are not cold when you put them in your mouth. And it actually makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, and I just wanna say thank you for that because that was a huge it was a permission slip you gave me because, again, salads was always the thing that was pushed in California, and then I come to Texas, and I'm like, "No, I want my beef, I want bowls, I wanna eat more hearty things," and the most ironic thing is you end up losing weight because 'cause you're eating more.
Yes, it's so true because you can actually digest the nutrients that you're putting into your body.
Mm.
There's satiation that's created. Your body doesn't feel like it's in some kind of survival mode where it has to hold on to everything you eat. And there are ways to keep our foods light if someone has that concern of, I don't know if I can handle eating a beef in a grain bowl. Okay, sure, but you can have soup. Soup is also still very light, and yet it makes us feel like we've had a really nice, nourishing meal. But I think part of it too, Steffi, is that worth that we talked about earlier, where a salad is easy because you can literally just open the refrigerator and it's 5 seconds and you've got a meal, right? But cooking is an act of self care and self love. And it takes more time that we then have to say, I
I'm worthy of
value
this.
myself enough to cook good food for myself. Exactly.
Wow. I did not correlate self-worth with this, and I've been doing this interpersonal work for a long time, but just it makes sense. It
Mhm.
so makes sense. And for someone that doesn't know the Vata, Pitta, Kapha, could you briefly explain which 3 of these doshas are?
Yes. So the doshas are the Ayurvedic classifications of constitutional type. Sure. So the word dosha means that which will go out of balance or fault. So basically means if something's going to go wrong with you, it's going to be in one of these three categories. We each have a doshic type. Some of us are primarily two. Very few people are truly tridoshic, and a lot of people have one primary dosha. So the doshas are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata being the constitutional type made up of air and ether. When we say ether, we think of space. It's cold, dry, fast, mobile, ever changing, light. Pitta is fire and water. And that's also fast, but it's sharp and it's hot and it's also mobile and it's flowing. I think of the qualities of fire. Kapha is earth and water, and that's slow, stable, dark, cold. We think of the qualities of the elements, and then we can see them not only in the actual physical constitution of the body, but also in our emotions and in the ways that we tend to approach the world. So someone who's Vata is going to tend to be highly creative and change their mind a lot and love travel and new and exciting things. And they're also going to have really variable energy levels because everything about Vata is variable and extreme. It's all or nothing. Oh my gosh, 1 minute I'm in, the next second I'm out. Manifesting generators
Or
have a
Vata?
lot of Vata qualities.
Yeah.
The thing. And then Pitta is the leader, the driven one, the one who's very passionate and motivated and competitive. And then they can also be the ones who are a little more critical.
Mhm.
And then we have Kapha, which is stable and grounded and loving. Kapha is nurturing, and Kapha is the one that holds everybody else together. I think the world needs more Kapha. And for some reason, in the pop Ayurveda culture that we've started to establish in the US, Kapha gets a really bad rap, but it shouldn't. Kapha is really great.
Mhm. I noticed that for a really long time, all my teachers, my yoga teachers, my mentors were Kapha.
Oh,
I
nice.
really
Must
yeah,
have
I
been what you
really
needed.
needed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly what I needed because I know I'm Vata Pitta,
Mhm.
and what
Me
are you?
too. Vata
Okay.
Pitta.
Okay, so if anyone wants to find out what they are, go to Christina's website. What is your website?
It's IamTrulyWell.com.
Yeah, go to iamtrulywell.com, schedule a session with her, and you'll do the thing or have
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how you work, but yeah.
Can I tell you a funny story really quick?
Sure, of course.
So for all these years, I've looked back on my childhood and I've been like, oh my gosh, I was so bought. And it's good for us to look at how we were as children because it tells us our truest nature because less of life has happened to us to change how our constitution served up. Anyway, so you look at how you were as a child, and that really determines or it informs how you know these things about yourself. I've
Mhm.
always thought, wow, I was so bata as a child. And I thought that because I was really creative. I was always working on an art project that I was not finishing very many of them. I was really spacey. I would daydream a lot. But this past weekend or the weekend before, I went to Florida and went to my parents' house and found some of my old like schoolwork from elementary school. And I was looking through it to see what I would throw away and what I would take back with me to Texas. And I found a little worksheet. It was like journal prompt.
Mhm.
And one of the questions was, I feel happy when? And my answer was, when I say the right thing in an argument. And that is pitta AF thing for a little child to say. I was like, I had forgotten how competitive I was as a child. I just thought that was funny and
No,
cool way to know.
that's so cute. That just reminded me of my niece because she's full 3.5,
Mhm.
and, she does not like to be told she's a Leo too, so she does not
Um,
and she's a Manny Jenny. She's a Manny Jenny, and she's a Leo. She does not like to be told what to do, and, like, when you tell her no, she's like, "No, you can't tell me no."
oh my gosh, that's so fiery.
Such a fiery little one. Oh my god. Isn't it so fun to see, like, our past and when you said the daydreaming and creating projects, like, I definitely resonate with Vata as a young
Mhm.
girl, like, I was always playing with fairies in the backyard and
Yeah.
I would put on costumes and have wands and just play around, but then there's times where you're like, "Oh, I have this pitta side, we all have certain sides to us." But why is it really important? I guess this will be one of my last questions. Why do you think it's really important for people to know and understand this so that it can contribute to their magnetism?
Ooh, because self-knowledge is power and understanding our constitutional makeup, which isn't, again, it's not just how our physical bodies are, it's also our mind, our emotions, our spiritual life. Understanding those things about ourselves gives us the tool to, for one thing, keep ourselves balanced and healthy. And for another, to approach the world with self awareness and know that if I have a lot of vata, I might naturally tend toward flakiness. Flakiness is not a trait that people typically respect. Especially, if I'm flaking on my clients, I'm not going to be in business for very long.
Mhm.
So I can correct for that and say, I know my tendency is to be flaky. And then I can examine myself and say, when are moments when I feel like flaking? Oh, it's because I overcommitted. So now my
Mhm.
task is to not overcommit and to leave plenty of space in my schedule so that I don't feel like I need to cancel things when it's time to do them.
Wow. That's actually so true because in the very beginning of my business, I was flaky as F, and you can't sustain that. It ruins your reputation if you're gonna be flaky on your clients.
Yeah.
So it's really addressing the the root issue of it, of, like, why is it? Am I overextending myself? Am I saying yes too much? Am I
Mhm.
people pleasing? Am I not eating enough? It's like this
Oh,
whole
yeah. Am I
yeah.
cold and I didn't put on socks and a sweater?
Did I leave my sweater at home? Did I not put my socks on? It's so
Yeah.
funny. When we're on this call right now, I actually took my socks off. Yeah, I must be feeling the vibe. What do you want your clients or what do you want, particularly women, what do you want them to know about this particular topic with Ayurveda? What do you want them to know, and why is it important for them to at least bring something? Give us like a small like tip or trick that we can contribute into our lives that can give us big changes in the future.
Okay. So I'm going to start with the latter.
Mhm.
The best thing that we can do for ourselves as women and really everybody, but take this away today and start it, is to develop a routine.
Mm,
Ideally, bookends of the day. So a morning routine and an evening routine. And this does not have to be a 15-step, 3 hour long process. It can be a 10-minute or 5-minute, whatever you have. But start with a routine because routine can become a ritual when it's approached with intention.
hmm
And that is so nourishing and healing for our relationships with ourselves and with our hormones.
I love that. I love that. I love a routine.
I know.
Well,
Good. Medicine.
so thank you so much for being on the Magnetic Online Leader podcast. Is there any last thing you want to share? Where can we find you? Give us all the deets.
Thank you so much for having me. You inspire me so much to be my most magnetic self. And I just feel so grateful that I know you. I would love to connect with anyone who feels inspired with a free mini consultation call. We can set that up via my Calendly link, which you can also find on my website. And you can find me on Instagram at Truly Well Christina.
Perfect. And what's your website again?
It's .com.
Perfect. And I'll make sure to link it all below. Thank you so much and take care. Bye.
Thanks so much, Steph. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Magnetic Leader podcast. I'm so happy you're here. If you found this of value, please like, subscribe, and share this episode on your social media. I would be so appreciative, and it's really going to create a ripple effect for others. But wait, there's one more thing. If you are ready to dive deep into your magnetism, to understand your leadership, to understand what it takes to become a magnetic online leader, well, I've got something special for you. Head over to stefilane.com and sign up to become part of my exclusive magnetic list. You're going to get updates, personal invitations, insights, videos, a front row seat to your transformation because it's all happening and you definitely want to be in on it. Again, stefilane.com. And thank you for the bottom of my heart for joining us today. Your presence meant so much. So until next time, take care, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Magnetic Online Leader podcast.